The upcoming session is literally titled A Day in the Life of a Data Analyst, Data Scientist, and Business Intelligence Analyst. We have 4 amazing people in this next session. So the first person is our moderator, who is right here with us. Our moderator is a driven leader with experience leading cross-functional teams across the UK, Zambia, South Africa, Tanzania, and Nigeria. She has excellent interpersonal skills. She is keen on client engagement and retention, team leadership, and project management. She also runs Young Techies. It is a platform that provides education for beginners who are trying to find their way into the tech space, whether through programming or non-programming roles. Please help me welcome our moderator, none other than Phyian Karinge. Hi, Phyian.
Hi, Claire. Oh my God, was that me?
Yes, that is you. And now on our panel, we have 3 amazing, brilliant people. The first person is Bilha Nangira. She is a statistics graduate who derives a lot of satisfaction in helping decision makers identify interesting and important patterns in data. When she is not buried in books, she is visiting art galleries and trying new things. Please help me welcome Bilha Nangira. Hi, Nangira.
Hi, Claire.
Yeah, that's Nangira. So fun fact, me and Nangira were in the same class, and we literally sat next to each other for four good years. So that's Nangira. Next up, we have Chelsea. Now, Chelsea is the modern day definition of a boss woman, right? She is a trained statistician who is currently working as a business intelligence analyst and local developer at KPMG East Africa. In her role, she assists clients to uncover insights through data analysis and visualization. She also helps them to increase efficiency and maximize productivity through intelligent automation. Now, one thing you have noticed about most of the techies here, that they do have a life outside of work. For Chelsea, she enjoys reading books. She loves good fiction books. She also loves a lot of banter, and she is a self-proclaimed comedian. Please help me invite Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, Claire. Thanks for that introduction. Good to see you. Good to see all of you. And I'm really, really excited for this panel.
Yes, thank you so much, Chelsea. And now finally, we have Kalebu Gwalugano. So Kalebu is a software engineer, a machine learning engineer, and a founder and CEO of Neurotech, an African startup that is based in Tanzania. Now, an interesting thing about Kalebu is that he is currently working on PySwahili, which is basically a Swahili version of Python programming, right? It's basically aimed to reduce barriers for Swahili speakers so that they can be able to code in Python. Yes, as I said before, he is from Tanzania. Please help me invite Kalebu. Hi, Kalebu. Welcome to the panel today. Yes, there he is. Now I'll hand over to Phyian, who again is our moderator for the panel, and I do hope you all enjoy what you learn.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was such a phenomenal introduction. We were wondering, is this us that you're talking about? So thank you so much. So guys, what this session is all about is we're trying to digitally shadow Chelsea, Nangira, and Kalebu. So imagine we're your maybe kids, people who shadow you at work. So we'd have an interactive experience where we'll digitally shadow you. So this is supposed to be very, very interactive. And the reason why we're doing this, just to bring it back, is as the mission of Pan-African Tech Foundation is to encourage Africa's full participation in the digital economy. And that means that encouraging young people to participate in tech, encouraging young people through your stories, Nangira, Kalebu, and Chelsea, through hearing what it's like a day in the life of Nangira and seeing if this is a space that I can get into. Is this the type of thing that I'd like to be in? So using stories to encourage this participation in the digital economy. So I'd like to start with an icebreaker, and this icebreaker is for everyone, specifically for Chelsea, Nangira, and Kalibu. But you, the rest, the rest of us, can think about our answers in silently. So, given the choice, I'll start with Chelsea. Given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you want as a dinner guest and why?
I think I'd want right now, if I was to get that option, I'd want to have Larry David as my dinner guest. And that's because I have started watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. I started about last month. I know, pretty late into the show, into the party rather. And it's a pretty interesting show. And I think I'd love to sit with him and chat with him. I know a lot of it is based on his real lives, but I'd want to understand, has he really gone through that much misfortune and how he was able to convert that into a series that I think is just genius. I think that would be Larry David. And I think it'd make for a good laugh. I think I'd laugh a lot through the dinner. So yeah.
Okay. So it also speaks to your comedic skills.
Well, I'm nothing close to Larry, but I hope it'd help sharpen my comedic skills and I'd get better. So yeah, I love a good laugh.
All right, Larry David, that's very interesting. Nangira, what about you?
For me, I think it's Viola Davis. She's an actress, a Black African American actress. I find her so inspirational. She's released a book just recently, and I think even from her story with her interview when she was with Oprah, like it was really breathtaking. And she's so beautiful and hardworking, and the passion, you can see it in her work. So yeah, I think Viola would be the one for me.
And it's very interesting. We often pick the people that feel a bit more similar to us. So that's a very interesting pick, Viola Davis. All right. Kalibu, what about you?
For me, I'll pick Alex Wang. Alexander Wang. He's the CEO of Scale AI. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really inspired by him. He's just 26. He's a billionaire. He's a dropout. He's like running an AI company at a very young age. So, yeah, I think we share a lot of similarities. I mean, I didn't go to take my degree. I say, let me run on let me try to something. Yeah, so I think he really inspired me through the way he followed his dream, and now he's making it.
Yeah, very, very similar again to you. So this small exercise will help us get a glimpse of who Nangira is, who Chelsea is, and who Kalibu is before we now start walking with you guys through your day. So I would like to start with Chelsea yet again, briefly, because I know we have a wide audience. Some of us are a bit technical, some are not technical. If you're explaining to a 5-year-old what you do at work, how would you explain to them?
I think to a 5-year-old, I'd say I create a lot of reports and attend lots of meetings. Anyway, just kidding. I think I think I'd tell the 5-year-old that, assuming they understand what data is, I think I'd tell them that I interact a lot with data and do some mathematics or analysis, if these 5-year-olds really understands what that is, on the data, and then create reports based on that and share that with people so that they're able to make decisions based on what is actually happening.
Oh, okay.
I hope that's understandable for a 5-year-old, yeah?
Yeah, probably. Nangira, I'd like to ask, we all hear about data scientists and data analysts. Curious, for someone who's looking to get into tech and they're not sure, and they want to get into data specifically, what is the difference between a data analyst and a data scientist?
Okay. This is a very common question. I had that question when I was starting off because my background is in statistics. And so I thought I'd be a statistician. But then I got to learn about data analysts and data scientists. And I'd say for a data analyst, they work with structured data to solve tangible problems for a business or a project, whoever they're working with. And they'll use a lot of tools. For example, structured query language, that is SQL. It's Python, R, SPSS, Tata. Sometimes it depends on the organization you're working for, because, for example, you'll find that Tata is mostly used by researchers in the fields of economic, well, medicine, or political science to examine data patterns. And then you'll find software such as R, which are open source. And these ones are widely used for a variety in a wide range of fields. So you'll find them with economic, like people in the e-commerce field, or but again the biomedicine and the likes, and you'll be able to also visualize data there. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have an idea of how to use each software, but ultimately it makes vary depending on the organization and their preference. For data scientists, so we said for analysts, they have tangible problems. With scientists, what's common is they work with the unknown, and they use advanced techniques to make predictions about the future. So they'll often develop predictive models for theorizing or forecasting, and it's always they're expected to form their own questions, whereas with data analysts, they already know what, based on the project they're working on, maybe they know the problems they're going to solve, they're going in to solve. But with scientists, they're also expected not only to solve, but also to come up with new questions. That's why there's the predictive models. And so there's a lot of programming involved. You'll find Python added into the mix, and there's a lot of softwares being used. Some even I haven't gotten to experience. And it's very common to find someone who started as a data analyst moving into data science. So it depends on your interest. If you find yourself wanting to spend more time developing models or using machine learning or incorporating programming to find and analyze data, then maybe data science is for you. Then if you enjoy the solving tangible problems for organizations, then being a data analyst would be what's suitable.
So I from what you've explained, the difference between a data analyst and a business analyst is not too far off, am I right?
Yes, data scientist and data analyst. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Kalebo, CEO, I'd really, and I think many people would really like to know your why. Not only your why you started Neurotech. We can start with your why and what Neurotech is about.
Okay, the why. So the why for me was not really fully formed when I started this. All I wanted is I wanted to be a place where I can freely do something with impact. So before Neurotech, I was working I was doing on Upwork, and then I went full-time job, getting like freedom of expression and to really work on things I was passionate about, including AI. I mean, there was AI, but there's not freedom to really propose anything and work on it. So for me, that was like really prime motivation. If I can't find a job which allowed me to give a team, so I should create a job for myself, and which then motivated me to then think. And then Neurotech came about, like this has to be an escape route for me to really work on my team and work on things I care about. And in finding out, so when I was I'm also an open source contributor, so I do a lot of open source contribution. And one thing that I saw on open source when it came into the space of AI on African languages, really gave most of their resources and libraries does not support the AI, like building AI solution in African languages. And I saw like this is a thing, which I think is a gap, and it also has some business value in terms of that. So, and then that's why I like pick that area. Like we could focus on building the infrastructure for AI and African language, and at the same time we can make business out of it to build the infrastructure. So that was like the really prime motivation for us to really choose like conversational AI or NLP to be the prime core service of what we offer.
So what I'm hearing is you wanted to get kind of freedom to explore your potential. That was your initial why. And then you found a problem to solve in the space that you're passionate about, hence neurotech. That's amazing. Really good. So I'll jump right into, again, Chelsea. You just mentioned that you create a lot of reports, and help us bust the myth, if we can bust it, of techies just sit in front of their computer the whole day, or people who deal with data just sit in front of the computer the whole day. By taking us through a very exciting and busy day in your life from the top. You are clear.
All right. All right. I'll start with, say today, for example. Let's take the example of today. I have been on my desk, yes, but not for the majority of the day. For example, in the morning, I had a shoot here. I'm at the office. I'm working from the office today. So I had a shoot. We're promoting one of the solutions where we have been developing for clients in the region. So we had a promo shoot for that. I got to be, quote unquote, both a salesperson and a model for that. So that was a bit exciting. And then afterwards, I had a session with a colleague of mine to put together content for a training we'll be conducting for the team next week. A brainstorming session, sort of structuring how the training is going to go. And then after that, I had a meeting where we are presenting one of the solutions. We're having a review meeting, and then I got to now come to this webinar. So it's not just, well, for the meeting, say, for example, where I am presenting to the solution. Yes, I'm seated in front of the desk, but it's not entirely what we usually see, just people in front of their machines with dark themed screens. It's pretty exciting. We get to interact with people, we get to do things outside of what is usually shown as you just running code on your, or rather at your desk. Slow days, I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't think I've had a slow day in quite a while. I think I'd take today as one of the slow days. So yeah, that's what a slow day would look like. And then when we have super busy day, because I work for a consultancy, more often than not, I'm on multiple projects. So you find you have meetings for these tasks and then meetings for these other tasks. And then we have the general reporting meetings for the team. So meetings sometimes can take up a bit of time, especially because it's just not one client or one project. And so you don't have the liberty of sort of structuring all your meetings, say, around a given time. So the other thing that makes the days busy is, or rather makes a day quite busy, is when a client comes with a request, or one of the teams that we support internally comes with a request, and they have the data, they want the analysis, and they want the report in, say, at the end of the day. And so if it's urgent, sometimes you have to sit down and do everything that could be done, say, in a week or so, in like sort of a day or half the time. So that can make things quite busy. What else would happen? So, and then also to just bust the myth that we just sit on our desk as an analyst, as a business intelligence analyst, there's a lot of presenting your insights to clients. And then before we even get there, and before the analysis, there is the discovery, finding what your client objectives are, what those needs are, what kind of data do they have, going through what data they usually collect to see that it can actually be used to answer the questions that they want to answer. In other cases, if you're designing surveys to try and understand the objective, what kind of data they want to collect before you design that survey. And as you can see, a lot of that involves really interacting with people and asking them questions. The runners of those businesses, the owners of those organizations, asking them where their data sits, what it is that they want to achieve. And then when it comes now to the presentations as well, when you're showing them insights, it can get pretty engaging. It can get really interesting. Sometimes you'll present your findings to people who necessarily are not too happy that their business is running that way. And some of the questions you'll get can be rather difficult, it can get heated. So just to show that being an analyst, a business analyst, there's a lot of interacting with people. It's not just sitting on your screen and coding. Even if it's virtual interaction, it still is a lot of interacting with people, and it requires quite a good level of people skills.
Oh, that's actually very, very new, because it's a balance of people and almost like technical skills, which is a very a powerful skill to have, like both technical and people skills, because often people are more inclined to one than both. It's very interesting there.
Yes.
Very, very interesting there. So, and I really, really like that we have a mix of an entrepreneur, we have someone in corporate, and Nangira, from my understanding, you specialize in freelance projects. And I'd like to know how that has been, first of all, and how you kind of find a balance, because I know freelance work can be it can be a lot, and you can lose the balance of work and life, because it's not like 9 to 5 where you know, okay, this is the period where I'm supposed to stop and start. So how has that been? And yeah, just tell us a bit about how that has been, how you got there first, and how that has been.
Yeah, so how I got there. I graduated in 2019, and then the pandemic happened. Not to use it as an excuse, but then, of course, jobs at that time were scarce. So you need to get creative with how you're going to apply your skills after university. And Claire actually was one of the people who introduced me to a platform where you're able to outsource your services as an analyst or whatever. It's called Fiverr. So that's why I started, and I gained confidence there. Of course, at the same time, I'm networking with people through different platforms, even Twitter. I love the data community or the analytics community, because we are so ready to share information. As you can see, we're having this bootcamp, and we've met so many interesting people and who are doing so many cool things out there with their lives. And so yeah, being able to interact with people, and you're able to get more opportunities that way. So you're able to network and learn and grow. Of course, so now balancing is the other thing you need to learn, because as much as you want more work and keep busy and growing, it's also important to have a balance. And how I achieve that is through having boundaries. I may not be working 9 to 5, but I'm able to set aside a couple of hours, maybe 8 hours in a day where I'm working, and also prioritizing rest, because you don't want to be burnt out at the end of the day. So it's important to also learn. I mean, being able to rest is also a privilege, but it's important to just remember, like, to see the bigger picture. Yes, you're growing in your skill and your work, but also you can't be able to do a good job if you're burnt out. So I had someone say that, because with freelancing, I think it's important to be reliable, and you're able to be connected to other clients through the work you've already done. So, and I had someone say a first step in being reliable is learning to say no. So when you realize the work you have is a lot, like your plate is full, learn to just say no to extra work. Because then that means you're able to give you're able to dedicate your time and do a good job with the work you're able to do within the time you've allocated for yourself. So that way people trust your word and can rely on you, and they know, okay, she said she'll be able to do this much within this timeline, and they're sure you'll be able to deliver. So I think an important first step is having boundaries and honoring them yourself. I hope that answers.
It does. Okay. And I'm thinking about there's someone here in our attendee list that is looking at Nangira and like, I'd like that freedom and I'd like to start freelancing. So help us take us through a very busy day or a very hard day so we can almost show the full picture of what freelancing is. So take us through a very hard day and a very slow day in the life of Nangira.
A very slow day can be a very slow day. So a couple of clients have been able to maintain, and they can book me for maybe a whole week. So those would be my busiest days, because as much as they're giving you 1 week, the work could be done for more than a week. But luckily, I also get to work within a team. So it's for a project, and we are normally called for analysis. It's a national project. So a busy day would, it's really a busy week. But yeah, it would include, because there's so many other people involved, so they're called panel of experts. For example, if the project is in agriculture or in health, whatever it is, so you're able to learn, first of all, what's the problem? Why are we here? Why are we meeting? What are we planning to solve? So it's really understanding the objective of the workshop, then being able to now clean. There's a lot of cleaning that goes on. So because this is data you're seeing for the first time, and it's not something like they're collecting data every so often. There's the end line service, baseline, midline, all that. So a busy week or a day would entail a lot of consulting and understanding the goals of the project, doing the cleaning, starting the analysis, and there's a back and forth. Sometimes you release the output and they're like, no, I think this doesn't give the right picture of what's going on in the actual sense. So they clean that. We have to now discuss again and see where the problem is, dealing with outliers. I'm even finding, the more I talk, I see that it's a tough question to answer, because it can be a lot. And then a slow day is when you have fewer deliverables, I guess. So it's just analyzing or presenting your data, and you're done with your work. I don't know if I've painted a very good picture, but it's yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
All right. I mean, we want to create the full experience, both the bad and the good, which you all experience. And I'd like to spend another minute on you to ask, if you're speaking to that mini Nangira here in the attendee list, what would you tell them? What would you tell them? What advice would you give them? Okay, before you start freelancing, do this. Or what is that one thing that you'd tell them before they start?
I'd echo what Claire said earlier on. Be willing to unlearn, relearn, and learn. There are 3 things, but just be willing to be a consistent student of life, because our field is ever growing, ever evolving. There's so many softwares to use out there. So I think curiosity would be a good place to start. Just be curious about what's going on. Like I said, the data environment is very welcoming, the data community. For those in Kenya, at least I can say there's platforms like Eventbrite or Meetups, whereby you see people have not functions, but like workshops, whereby you're able to learn from each other. And I know even on a wider scale, for example, the work that PTF is doing, you're able to learn from each other. Even such bootcamps, this is a good start for you who is starting off in the field. Just be curious, be willing to learn and grow and connect with other people. Yeah.
Kalebu, this one is especially, I identify a bit with you, because part of what I used to do, I co-founded a tech company. So I feel like I understand what the experience might be like, running a tech company. And I would like you to take us through your day yesterday. How was your day yesterday, from start to beginning?
Okay. My day yesterday. Okay. So we had, I was invited in a panelist for a webinar, which was yesterday, which is for deploying scalable machine learning models. I was so busy in the last 3 days, I didn't prepare even the presentation. So yesterday I began doing a good research on the title of the topic of what I'm going to present in the webinar, and preparing my presentation and also aligning with the team. So it took me a while to really, because I didn't prepare the presentation. The day was yesterday. So it took me a while to really scratch up everything, do a bit of research, and then finish my presentation, and then aligning with my team on task. On task on Miro, and then on evening we had like a webinar. Yeah, so it was a very lazy day for me yesterday because I didn't spend a lot of time like coding or doing anything with some task. Yeah, so that's basically that was yesterday. Was that a question? Right?
Yes, no, that you answered the question. But
Okay.
as I was saying, it takes like a different kind of strength to step away from employment and be like, you know what, I want to start this thing. So you've started this entire baby. And I know there's someone who's like a mini Kalebu who's like, yeah, I've been thinking about starting something, but I'm not sure where to start. So can you kind of take us through how, in brief, your journey has been up until where you are, in brief, how it has been, especially as a young person, creating this solution in tech. So we're able to understand what it really means to create that.
Yeah, okay. So from the very beginning, all I had was I want to build a company because I'm tired of working unemployed, but I had no experience on what it's like really what it takes to really build a company. I had no idea, and I'm still learning today. So that was where I was like, I wanted to build a company. And then we didn't have a product, we only had a problem to like, this is the area we want to focus, but I had like quite no experience on how you're going to make money out of it. So in the beginning, so for me, in the beginning, we say like, oh, we're gonna launch a product, we're a SaaS product, and people, we're building it for developers. From my side, I was from a developer perspective mostly. Like most of my life is dealing with developers, building tools for developers, but I had not this side of business side. So even my thinking processes were more of developer oriented, like we're going to build a SaaS solution, we're going to develop APIs, we're going to buy it, and then yeah, so that's how I started out, and then we began building the product called Sarufi. And then after a couple of months, the money was beginning like there was like a burnout. The money was getting low, and nobody gonna work for you if you don't pay them, or you don't have money, and you also need to pay rent and finance operations. So I had to change the strategy because the money I corrected through my other freelancing jobs, because I was writing an article for Rocket and as online agents. I was freelancing on Upwork and my previous job, so I had a bit of saving to really finance the operation. But then in financing a SaaS product, the money was not enough, and I had really to find a strategy to getting out of it. Otherwise, I'll go back on finding an employment. So for us, we really switch the mode from like a SaaS to begin using a service as a way to finance our operation, because it will take more than that what we have to really build a SaaS solution. So as I said, I had no experience, so I had to like try everything. So I mean, I was lucky, I can say, because I attended one of the it was a networking event, and then I meet this people from the company who are also doing data consultation, but they're really deep into research. Then they were looking for somebody to really help them with the developer perspective of data. And then, so from there, and then we were able to really get us bit of couple of free subcontract on data, which we're working up to date. And that's how we are using to finance it. So we are now like really focusing on building perfecting our SaaS. Meanwhile, we're doing services, and also so that's how it is like for us. So we now in hybrid mode. We're not SaaS. We are servicey, and we are like looking forward to doing SaaS. So yeah, it's a lot. I mean, if I knew what it would take for me to like what it take as a company, I wouldn't have started, like for sure. Because yeah, sometimes you need to be like a jack of all trades. You need to code. You need to learn a lot of things because a lot of things are new and there's no time. So you need to really quick change. Yeah, but to work with, I mean, I like the freedom, the culture of really working on something. Yeah, something that's going to change in the future. You know, like so that's kind of culture, that kind of it's bringing me more like more energy to work, to keep working on it. Perhaps in the beginning it's not always easy, but give me energy to keep working on the company.
All right. Wow. And really congratulations on your pivot, and now you're like on an upward trajectory. I'd like to know, still on that note, describe to us your worst day, your hardest day, where you're like, you know what, I should actually get a job, where you just wanted to go home.
Okay, so it was around, I think April. So I had like two people who were like working remotely full time, and then the time of the like I pay them monthly, and then the time I'd reached, and also I had my rent and my run out money was over, and yeah, I sent my client an invoice, and then it took more than like 2 months to really get paid. So on that moment, it was really hard for me. There's no money, nothing to pay rent. I can't pay my like the debt I was working with, so it was like incredibly hard. And I wasn't really used to the way like you send an invoice today, and then more than 21 days you wait to get paid. So I was like, I work, you get paid, but in businesses there's teams, and then it can take more to get. So that was like really hard for me. It was like I think like a month, hard month, 1 month. It was really hard. So I had to really rent from friends. Can you borrow me something? Yeah. So yeah. But nowadays, I mean, yeah, I'm okay. You know.
Yeah, you got through it. Okay. And I'll get to the positives in a bit, guys. Don't think this is just we're trying to find the bad ones to discourage people. So I'll start with Chelsea. On the positive, what to you is the most interesting part of your job that you absolutely love?
I think I get a bit of a thrill from working through and then the final presentation, whether it's for an internal team or to a client, and you can see them nodding and really appreciating what you've done. I think that I get a bit of a thrill from that. And also, I think I know I thoroughly enjoy visualization. And so building dashboards and putting together reports is usually very interesting for me.
Oh, okay. And on that note, because I always try to find the connection between what a person is doing and what they enjoy doing and their innate strengths. So would you say you enjoy designing? Is that why you enjoy visualization, or what are your innate strengths that have allowed you to enjoy those parts of your job?
I'm learning design. We have colleagues who do UI UX for us, like the design bits. So I am learning from them. But I think what makes me enjoy what I do, the part of my job that I do, is because I like telling stories. And so visualization is just taking parts and putting them together into a coherent story that will make sense for whoever is going to ingest it, or whoever is your audience. So I think the fact that I like a good story and I like to tell stories is what makes that bit of work interesting for me. And also when I say I enjoy the presentation bit, where you get to see people actually nodding to what you've done and finding value in what you've done, it still ties to my wanting to tell stories. And so seeing people respond to that story usually give me that satisfaction. Yeah.
That's so interesting how diverse humans are, because there are people who enjoy telling stories through acting, and the people who enjoy telling stories through data, which is just fascinating. Okay. Thank you. Nangira, tell us, before the mini Nangira is like, nope, I don't want to do that. Tell us what has been the most interesting part of your job, what has been the most exciting, and what keeps you there for sure.
Quite similar to Chelsea's answer. Seeing the end product is always a delight. I've also now started working with Tableau, and I understand completely the whole visualization aspect is also very, it's just, I think I get to engage my creative side as well. And then seeing that I'm freelancing, so I get to work with different people in different fields. So I get my inquisitive or curious side is also satisfied because I get to learn some new things in the process, just some random facts from every other field out there. So I think those would be my pleasure points from the line of work. Yeah.
Okay. And seeing what interests you there, I still would like to ask the same question. What parts of your personality do you think is kind of is awakened by those things? Like, is it because you are always looking to solve problems? What parts of your personality, like how as a mini Nangira, how do I know that I can do what Nangira does based on your personality type?
Yes, there's the aspect of problem solving, but for me, mostly I'm curious. I ask a lot of questions. So I enjoy just getting random facts because you see, I'm dealing with different fields, people in different fields. So I get to learn a few new facts, and that's just, I'm like, wow, that's very cool. So just my curious nature gets entertained in those moments. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And do you ever classify yourself as a geek? Would you ever classify yourself?
The geeks ever classify? I wouldn't say I'm a geek. I would not
No.
be a geek.
Okay.
No.
So the geeks in the house, no. Okay.
No, I mean, they will still, if they relate to what I've said, cool. But me, I'm not.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Kalebu, how about you? What made you not quit in April? What is this part of your job that, kind of held you through that season?
Okay. So myself, I love creating, so I did mechatronics in college, because I really love creating like robotics, automation system. But when it came to realistic in terms of my country, in terms of what you do, it's more of maintenance work. So I never even applied a single job with my college, what I studied in college, because there was no part of creation, like it's more of maintenance. So something I really love about my current job is that you get to feel the sense you are building something. So I really I'm obsessed with creating and building something. So that's part. I think when I'm talking about AI, that's so the way I get started AI on my side. It wasn't like I saw a documentary, or it was not like someone introduced to me. The way I saw it was in a movie. I was watching a movie, and then I saw a scene, and from that moment I say I want to do this my whole life, and that's where I am. So that part of your so I'm like I switch, I create software, but also I get to do ML. So that's sense of creation. I think that's what I love most about my job. Yeah.
Okay. And it's very interesting because people assume, oh, creatives are just the painters and the musicians. But even people who code, people who are more technical, and people who find, data visualization are very much creatives as well. So it's very amazing that you guys get to showcase that yes, technical people are creatives too, because we're very used to the notion that you just have to be an artist with a turban and like drawing to be a creative. And right on that point, you said you started as a developer. Did you struggle in your transition of because I know it's a stereotype, most developers are introverted and not necessarily, they don't have people skills, quote unquote. Did you struggle with that transition? Say for a developer who's like, gosh, I want to start this company, but my personality is kind of holding me back. because I feel too introverted to do this. Did you struggle? Did you need support? Did you need a more extroverted person to support you in kind of growing your company?
That's a really difficult question. So so I consider myself a deeply introverted person. So from my side, no. So if you're in a point where you have no option, the only option you got is to do what it takes to make it. Yeah, so that was my point. Introverted in some point it's kind of a challenge. But you know what? There's no other way out. Other way, you go back to do your development job, or you need to really adjust yourself to really go to this new setting where you need to really at least So it was a bit of a challenge, but I'm constantly adjusting to this new pace of So I don't know if that did answer you, sir.
It's a very good point you've made, that you do what it takes and don't let your limiting beliefs or your view of yourself kind of limit you. It's a very, very good point of view. So I'd like to get back to Chelsea as well. Now that we've kind of had an overview of what your day looks like, what your work looks like, and what you are interested in, just for the people who are in the panel and are like, okay, that's something I'd like to do what Chelsea does. Could you just briefly take us through what got you to this point? Like, how did you get to be a business intelligence analyst at KPMG? What things did you, okay, this helped me. What are those things? How did you get there? I'm sure someone.
All right. So my background is in statistics as well. Yeah. And when after uni, I applied for the graduate recruitment program here at KPMG. And when I got hired, I got placed to do audits. And I was supposed to do IT audit. And I did that for, I think, 6 months, for an entire season. And I knew I had no strength there. As Kalebu said, at the time I did what needed to be done, but I knew that my strengths were not there. While in uni, with statistics, I was interested in just analysis. And I remember with Nangira as well, we took a small course on analysis with Excel, and then also we were trained on R. And I remember thinking this is something exciting. So what I did is looked for the department within the firm that usually does that, and luckily was able to push for a transfer. So the one thing I'd want from that to encourage guys is to, if you're in a space that you feel you're not comfortable in, a space where you feel your interests do not align with, do not be scared to push to move to the place where you'd like to go. And then the other thing is learning. As Nangira said, curiosity in this space is very, very important. Things keep changing. We have new tools. We have new, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, trends. And so you have to keep yourself up to date. You have to keep learning. And so that curiosity usually has helped, even within my role right now, because I could be supporting a client within the banking sector now. Then 2 months later, I'm doing insurance. The next month, I'm doing something around ESG. It helps a lot to stay curious and to have that zeal to continue learning. And then the other thing I think I'd say is to not be, and it's something I'm still learning, but to not be scared to speak of your work, to not be scared to speak of your strengths, as much as to not also be scared to ask questions. I think sometimes we're more comfortable around maybe asking questions and talking about where we need help, but also it's just as necessary to talk both with your words and also show with your work what you're really good at. It helps for you to get those engagements and be placed in or rather get opportunities for you to continue excelling and to build those skills, to continue getting better at what you're already good at. And then finally, back to something Nangira said, I think knowing how much you can deliver on. When I was starting off, I think that's something I struggled with. I think when you're a young person getting into corporate Kenya, there's that need to sort of please almost everyone. And so I ended up saying yes to a lot of things. And I remember having sleepless nights and having long days and being thoroughly stressed. So if I'd go back to that, Chelsea, and for anyone who's starting in their career, is know how much you can handle so that you don't end up biting more than you can chew. Yeah.
Okay. It's very, very beautiful. I like that you mentioned almost learn publicly, like put your work out there, speak about your work. And I'm curious, Chelsea, because I agree with your final sentiments, but do you think that you have to go through that season of saying yes for you to know how to say no? Because I wouldn't know how much I can take if I didn't take so much and be like, okay, no. Do you think we have to go through that? Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I'd say yes and no, because for me, for example, when I learned this is how much I could take, I didn't start saying no immediately. So yes, there's that. I'd say yes, because there's that you need to get into that experience for you to know, anyway, this is too much. This is the amount of hours I can put in, and this is the effort that I can put in without being burnt out. But then the moment you realize that, not to hold out for too long, not to continue getting yourself into situations where you're thoroughly tired for so long before you learn how to say no.
So thank you. And Nangira, let me just say, I think freelancing as a data analyst has never sounded more interesting. I think probably that's the most interesting freelance field I've had, because I know writing can be stressful, but data analysis seems very, very interesting. So there's someone who's like, okay, fine, let's do that freelance data analysis. I'm not getting any clients. How did you get clients? How do I get my first client? Before we get, yeah, go on.
So the beauty with our line of work is there's platforms like GitHub. This isn't what I did though. I'm just saying, if in case there's someone who's tried all other ways and still not able to secure clients. So what Chelsea was saying, being willing to put your work out there. There are so many projects, there's data available to you from other businesses or companies. So work on that, showcase your skills, start posting on Twitter, on LinkedIn, just show your work. People will be interested. So I think that would be one place, because now you're killing two birds with one stone. You're learning, you're growing your skill, and you're also showcasing that you can do the work. And you also see that even say you want to be employed, the companies that ask for your GitHub profile or to just see a project you've worked on. So if you've not been employed, at least it's not like most other careers whereby you're not, you don't have access to work. Let's say if you're a lawyer, if you studied law, you're not able to like work on a case without like you can't show how you do. Maybe you can actually. Let me not. What I'm trying to say is clear that with data you're able to show your skills really well, even though you're not employed. So we have that advantage. Make sure you make use of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Put yourself out there. Yeah.
Right. Kalebu, I know the experience of a techpreneur is multifaceted. But from your experience in your journey, if you were to pinpoint one lesson that you have picked out and you're like, I would give this to someone who's also starting, which is this one thing that has absolutely stood out in your mind that you've learned through this process of building neurotech? Gun to your head, just one lesson.
Okay. So I think my one lesson would be have a strong network, because building a company and also when it comes to maybe getting a client, I'm assuming you're not talking about international client. It's really hard, like from the very first time you're going to a new client and then like without any kind of referral to get a job, to get a contract. So I think do your best in building networks of people. And then it's going to really help you when you start a company, because you then have a base of people who can even not even become a client, but can also refer you to somewhere else. So I think that's one of the very important, and also maybe perseverance. Like you need to you need to see somewhere where the future is better than that no one can see. So I think you need to really believe that it's going to happen. And also build a network because it's very important, because you can never do this alone.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And speaking of networks, because I know this is usually such a bone of contention, let's say, networks. Okay, fine, I've built my network, but because I know there's a lot of us that we attend networking events. Okay, let me get your number. Have you found that you need strategy to leverage on those networks? Because I could have a list of people. I could have a list of people that I know who are in this space. How do I leverage on them? Do you persist? Do you ask? How do I leverage on my networks?
For example, especially for me, I mean, even people I have contract partnership, or they're mostly coming from networking event, not from people I know from networking event. So when I go to a networking event, I can really listen to what people are speaking, and then I'm constantly finding ways I can work with these people. So I'm going to. So for example, the event I told you about, where I got my first client, and now I have another partnership with another company I made through the event. And last year, I think on July we had this year the Science Africa on Arusha. And then you don't need to approach everyone. You need to approach, like, from me, the way I do. I approach people who I think we can potential in some way, like work together. And in some sense, I try to explore. I mean, like, I give exploration phase, but most of the time I go there, I know what I need from them, and then, like, hey, perhaps I'm not be right, but that can drive me to really finding out the real way we can work together. But I don't go there and say hi and then leave. You go there and say hi, and then, like, I do this, and then we can, like, synergy. We can find some synergy depending on what we do. So that I only approach people who I think we can, but perhaps we can talk to other people. But I think you also need to really know how to sell yourself,
Okay, understood. So intentional networking where there's synergy for both partners. All right, I can see Lucy's like, this is such a fantastic panel. And because we've gone past time, I'd like to just finalize with another kind of, not icebreaker, I don't know what to call it, but a fun question. I'd like to end the session with a fun question. I can see there's some questions here, and we'll take them up after you guys answer that. So I will start with Nangira. Nangira, in a parallel universe, what would you be doing in a parallel universe? If not this.
Be a photographer. A photographer traveling the world, just capturing different, still storytelling, but through photos, not data. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. What about you, Chelsea?
I'm struggling to pick one thing. I'd like to be a lot of things. I think I'd do initially. I didn't necessarily want to be a statistician. Initially, I wanted to be a teacher of English and literature. So I think in another universe, I'd do that and then be an author as well, right, as I teach English and literature.
Wow. And we share that in common. I love books, and I think that also comes from your love for books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Kalebu, what would you be in a parallel universe?
Okay, so for me, I think I'll be doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're living your all-time dream in all the universes. Okay. All right. Fair. That's fair. So thank you so much, guys, for the time spent. I feel like I've connected with each of you very well. And I'd like to just briefly go through the questions here. We have PK. When taking up projects, what are some of the aspects you go for? Or does it mean you got to learn in the case of new tools within the timelines? When taking up projects, what are some of the aspects you...
It's me.
Sorry?
I actually joined with your link. It's Ashley. I'm using your link.
Oh, Ashley, yes. Go ahead. You
Yeah,
can ask.
so I wanted to understand for the case of new clients, every time you're taking up new clients, new projects. So how do you handle the aspect of picking and saying yes to a project? In the case, let's assume you're so conversant with maybe Power BI, Google Data Studio, and in this case, you've gotten a new tool, a new anything. How do you handle such a scenario? I think also Chelsea, based her handling Chelsea and Nangira, both of them, they are still handling different clients.
Okay, we can start with Nangira, yeah?
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for the question. So most times with clients, it depends on so far in my experience, there's no client who's come and said, I want you to analyze using this particular software. It's always, these are the goals I'd like, or the objectives of this project, and how do we best showcase the output? So most times I'm fortunate to be the one to tell them, I think this platform would show your work, showcase your work really well, the output and everything. So maybe Chelsea might have had a different experience.
It's somewhat similar. It depends on the objectives. But sometimes we have clients who might lean more towards certain software and certain solutions because of the costs, for example. So that's where luckily I'm lucky to work within quite a large team. So we have guys who sort of deal with convincing the client, or rather making it clear the value for solution A as opposed to solution B based on their objectives. And more often than not, they're able to convince. But also there's a lot of learning because, for example, you find that you may get into a project and start working on for example, a very recent example was a solution we started automating for a client using a given solution. And then midway, they added on to their objectives. And we realized there's part of those objectives that we couldn't achieve using the solution we had started with. And so all of us on the team had to learn how to use the next other solution so that we use that to top up and build on the other objectives, or rather achieve the other objectives. So I think, yes, there's convincing the clients and then also just that openness to learn. And I find it easier to learn on the job, so to say, as opposed to taking a course and then sitting on it. You learn as you go. It usually becomes a bit more easy and a bit more doable.
Thank you. I hope, Ashley, your question is answered.
Yeah, that's clear.
All right. Thank you guys again so much. This is truly a panel of young people doing incredible things. And I go forth with courage, continue doing the amazing things because you're inspiring a lot of people, even through this panels that you're speaking on. There's many Chelseas and Nangiras and Kalebus being born from this. So yet again, I really appreciate having this conversation with you. And I hope that we can get to have more conversations. Yes.
I hope so too, Phyian. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kalebu. So over to you, Claire.